All right, welcome in Sports Talk Wednesday nights from the capital city. Phil Kornblue, Pat Daniel here. Chris Bergen with the Coastal Carolina basketball team joining us from Statesboro, Georgia. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you. To reach us tonight on Sports Talk, great lineup for you. Rick Sanford at 6:35. Catch up with Dr. Rick. He's got a lot to say, no doubt, about the world of football, college and NFL, including his beloved Patriots and what's happening there. Look forward to having him with us. 7:05, Coach John Combs hooping and hollering. High school basketball is on fire in South Carolina, and we'll talk with him about that, and I think we'll have a special guest tonight. 7:35, Major Billy Downer, SC Wild, and I think one thing we'll talk about tonight with this cold weather about to hit us for a few days, how to prepare for the outdoors with this cold weather and how to prepare and protect your animals and how to protect and prepare your hunting grounds or fishing grounds or not fishing grounds, but fishing areas, whatever. We'll talk all about that with Major Downer tonight as well. You can join us right off the top, 888-898-2525. Welcome in Bergie from down in Statesboro. Coastal Carolina plays tomorrow night. Tough night on the hardwood for the Gamecocks and Tigers. 2 games at home. Both they could have won. And, I know people are down. You just, with basketball, Bergie, you see it in person a lot more than any of us do. You're with Coastal every game, been that way for years. Before that, Presbyterian. Yes, Presbyterian, and also yes. Coastal women. You've watched a lot of basketball over the years of a variety. So you can't get, too up, too down with a basketball season. It's a long season. It's a simple game when you boil it down. It's the simplest of games. It's a make or miss game. You make shots, you win. You miss shots, you lose. South Carolina, their game last night went through an extended period where they couldn't make a shot, and they let Georgia back from the dead. They were up by 9, and all of a sudden they couldn't make a shot. And Georgia, give them credit. They kept grinding and playing tough defense and making free throws. The Gamecocks couldn't make a shot from the floor, and they couldn't make a shot from the foul line. Missed too many free throws. Really, when you boil it down, the difference in free throw shooting is the difference on the scoreboard in that game. And then there's Clemson, which looked like they had that game in their pocket last night a couple of times. And Georgia Tech just made some incredible shots, and Clemson did not down the stretch in regulation and at the end of the first overtime, I think. And then Georgia Tech hit another big shot in the second overtime, I think, late on. And pulled out a huge win for them. Damon Stoudemire, his first year as the head coach of Georgia Tech, pulled out a huge win for them at Clemson. So disappointing nights for both teams. I don't think anybody should be washing their hands of the basketball season and saying these teams are just going to go right down the toilet. No, they're better teams than that, and they're going to beat some people, just like at Missouri. Missouri probably felt the same way the other night after the Gamecocks won there. They're going to beat some people down the road, but just a tough night last night when you had a golden opportunity to get W's at home.
You are such the voice of reason. By the way, before we even get into last night, hello, guys, from Statesboro. I found out something interesting about Statesboro I'd never known before. This is the only Statesboro city or town in the United States.
Oh, interesting.
The closest would be Statesville up in North Carolina. But yeah, that was an aside that I was looking through some other stuff for game prep tomorrow. But you are the voice of reason for basketball.
Do you save a note like that when your team's down by 30?
No, I've actually got that in my game open. Introducing where we are. So okay. that'll be a little teaser for tomorrow. Hey, when you're going to cover nuggets like that, you can't wait until the end of the ball game. You got to get them out early.
I understand.
Because you don't know how long your audience is going to stay with you. Now, you being the voice of reason in basketball, I suffer terribly with acid reflux, and basketball is the reason why. Because I live and die on ball games like last night. I treat them much like football games, that every game matters. And I shouldn't. And normally I try and separate myself for the job that we do here at Sports Talk. And I get disappointed when our teams lose in football. I got angry last night at both of them because those are two games they had no business losing. If South Carolina just shoots their season average from the free throw line, Phil, they win. It's the bottom line. They were a 75% free throw shooting team entering play last night, top 50, I think, nationally. That you translate that out, 75% of 32, if my math is correct, would be 24 made free throws. That would have been enough. That was 7 extra points that they left on the free throw line. They win the ball game. So there was no excuse for them to lose last night. And I know what happens when South Carolina or Clemson loses those type ball games. If we're sitting here in March, middle of March already, clearly focused on the baseball season, we're going to look back to January 16th and think that's one of the games that perhaps kept them out of the tournament. And then on the flip side, what is Brad Brownell doing? And I've been a big fan, big advocate of Brad Brownell. I think he is a good coach, and I believe he's a good coach. But it is remarkable to me how good coaches do the dumbest things in end-of-game situations. You're up 3, Brad. 10 seconds left to go in the game. You foul. You don't let Georgia Tech get that three-pointer off with 2 seconds left to go to send it into overtime. It's basic basketball 101. Up 3 late, you foul. And he was asked about it in the post game, and he talked about he's won games fouling, he's lost games. I'd like to see what game he lost fouling up 3 late. I'd like to understand the scenario because I just don't get it. And he's not the only one that does that. I've seen coach after coach after coach that won't foul because they're afraid of the nearly impossible, that their players are going to commit a foul while a guy's shooting a desperation 3. He'll knock it down, they'll hit a 4-point play, and they'll lose the game. Your scenario increases considerably if you don't foul, though, i.e. what happened last night. That game should have never gotten to overtime, much less double overtime. Clemson should have won that game because Brad Brownell should have had them foul with about 4 seconds left to go. They win the ball game. You're dominating the glass. You've got 2 guys that are very good rebounders in P.J. Hall and Ian Shefflin. They would have gotten the second miss if Georgia Tech had to go that route. I just don't get it. Good coaches get dumb with end-of-game scenarios, and it's just remarkable. And that's a game Clemson had no business losing, just like South Carolina had no business losing their game last night.
Yeah.
And that's why I was angry.
Yeah,
I'm not disappointed. I'm angry at both of them.
I totally agree. It just makes the common sense. You put them on the foul line. I think another concern is that, well, maybe not as big of concern of what you're saying, but the idea of getting that second rebound. But you mentioned you've got Hall, you've got Shefflin, and between them they had 38 rebounds last night. Hall had 17. I think Shefflin
Georgia
had
Tech's
10 or 11.
Winning.
So, yeah.
Georgia Tech's not winning that scenario.
Yeah, you're right. And the Gamecocks make free throws. But, sometimes, well, maybe more than sometimes, a lot of the time, making free throws at a high percentage for your team is dependent on who's shooting the free throws. And the Gamecocks had one stretch of 2 minutes where Josh Gray was on the floor. And you would appreciate the all-out effort that he gave. He was tremendous. In his time on the floor, he was tremendous in his effort. However, the end result was he was fouled and he missed all his free throws. I think it was a total of, I can go back and check the record. I want to say he missed 5 free throws. And he also missed a shot inside. He made a shot inside. He also had a block shot, or he affected a shot. But the point is, you get the wrong guy at the foul line at a critical time. And that was the case there. And then later they had Murray Boyles at the line, and he missed a couple of free throws, I believe. They just had the wrong guys at the foul line at a critical time, and they missed the foul shots. And it added up, and it allowed Georgia, at the same time South Carolina was missing shot after shot after shot, it allowed Georgia to come back from 9 down, turn the game around, and build a little bit of a lead. Still, the Gamecocks got it down to 3, but they couldn't get any closer, back down to 3. And that was it. And Georgia won a big, big road game for them. And so the Gamecocks have got to go out and get another one on the road. Arkansas is a beatable team. When Arkansas beat Duke and they stormed the floor in Fayetteville, everybody thought, oh, look at Arkansas, blah, blah, blah. But they've had their struggles since then. So I don't think this game in Arkansas for them on Saturday is out of reach. And Clemson's got to go down to Florida State which is a winnable game for them. I mean, Florida State, I think, is a little bit on the rebound after struggling last year and struggling earlier this year. I think they might be a little bit on the rebound, but that should be a game Clemson can go down and win. When P.J. Hall gives you 31-17, and Ian Shefflin,
you got to win the game,
gives you 20-11 or 20-10. Yeah, you're right. You got to win that game. You cannot lose a game with that kind of offensive effort from your best player, and then who's emerging as maybe your second best player, because that kid Shefflin, he gives it to you 100% every game, and he gets you every loose ball, and he can actually, he is not the prototypical from an appearance standpoint. He's not the typical ACC basketball player. You would look at him and never would guess he plays ACC basketball, but looks can be deceiving. I mean, you never look at me.
Like a surfer.
You look at me and never realize that, that I was once anyway. So anyway,
one other point.
Go ahead.
One other point that would have salvaged Brownell last night if Chase Hunter hits that second free throw to put him up 4. So free throws played a factor in Clemson's game, but Brad, you've got to know better. You know better. I know you're a good enough coach to realize up 3 late, you foul. It's simple. It's your team should have that drilled into their mindset. And they had an opportunity when the pass came off on the left wing with about 4 seconds left to go. They could have fouled right there. Instead, they passed it back to the kid who made the 3-pointer after pump faking, knocked it down with 2. like I said, Phil, I needed some therapy after last night. I wanted to throw stuff through the television sets at both teams.
I understand.
Because those are 2 games they had no business losing last night.
And one more quick point along with Clemson. As somebody who played basketball for most of their life, at some point, whether it's the teammates, whether it's the coaching staff, if you're shooting horribly from 3-point, at what point's enough?
Yeah.
Last night, 3 of 21, 14.3% from 3. At what point do you say, guys, stop shooting threes? P.J. Hall's having an incredible game. Work the ball inside. Shefflin's doing really well inside. At what point do you just stop shooting from outside? Because that also last night, watching the game is like you want to beat your head against the wall. Some nights you're on, some nights you're off. But last night you're off. At what point is enough?
That second game, they've had a really bad 3-point shooting game. After starting off the year as one of the elite 3-point shooting teams in the country. And North Carolina game, playing at home, they were like, 1 for 18, I think. And then this one, they were shooting a bunch of bricks out there as well. So, okay. So your thoughts on that? 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Just seeing a note here that Jerry Glanville passed away at the age of, I'm sorry. No. I misread this.
Oh, gosh.
Jerry Glanville's been named the defensive coordinator.
Oh, my God.
Well, when I saw Jerry Glanville and then I saw his age, and I'm trying to do a couple of things, and I'm thinking, he passed away at 82. No, I'm sorry. I take it back. He's not passed away. He's been named the defensive coordinator at Northwestern Oklahoma State. That's a D2 team at the age of 82 with 57 years of coaching experience. So congratulations.
Please
You're
tell me
very
he's
much
wear
alive.
Cowboy hat.
Oh, I'm sure he will. By the way, that brings me to what I want to really say, and that is I went to Sumter today for the funeral for Art Baker, and what a uplifting event that was for me personally, to sit and listen to the things that were said about Art Baker by the preacher and by Bobby Richardson and by Rick Gilstrap. Remember Rick Gilstrap? Rick Gilstrap is married to Art Baker's daughter, and they have obviously a long personal relationship, 44 years of marriage, but he also, Art Baker, helped him in his coaching career tremendously. And of course, he once was the head coach at Wofford, quarterback at Clemson. That's where they first connected, because Art Baker was an assistant coach for Frank Howard at Clemson. So they delivered some wonderful words. I got to repeat a story that Bobby Richardson told, not word for word, but in general. So he's talking about, of course, they're both from Sumter. Imagine that, right? They're both from Sumter. and he's talking about competing against Art Baker as a kid in Sumter. They were about, he said they were, I think he said they were 7 years apart, which, and Art was older. So that would make, if Art Baker was 94, that would make Bobby Richardson 87. Does that sound right? I think that's what he said.
Yeah,
don't hold me to it.
Yeah.
My reporting skills have wasted away, so I don't actually recall exactly what he said there, but I think that's what he said. But what stood out to me was he was telling his story. He said when we were kids, we used to compete against one another, and he said we were playing a baseball game, and he said Art struck him out 3 times. Now, Bobby Richardson did not strike out at all. He didn't strike
Exactly.
out. He said, Art Baker struck me out 3 times. And he said, in the World Series one year, we're playing the Dodgers, and we're facing Sandy Koufax. And he said, Sandy Koufax struck me out 3 times. And he said, Art Baker struck me out 3 times. And he told the story. He goes, it was Tony Kubek, Bobby Richardson, and Mickey Mantle. I think that was the batting order. And he said, Koufax struck out Kubek. He struck me out, and he struck out Mickey in 1 inning. Next time the 3 of us came up, strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. He said, third time we came up, said Kubek struck out. He said, I struck out. And he said, I was walking back to the dugout past Mickey, and Mickey said, well, I might as well not even go up there because I know I'm going to strike out. I mean, those kind of stories they're just the greatest.
Wow,
but
that's amazing.
So a lot of folks from South Carolina and Clemson. Dennis Powell was there, former Gamecock basketball player. Brad Scott, Jeff Scott, they were both there from Clemson. Administrators from South Carolina were there. Saw some folks, older gentlemen wearing Clemson Letterman jackets, so they must have been there when he was coaching at Clemson. Furman people were there, Citadel people. Robbie Caldwell saw him, and I'm hoping I'm not missing it. I'm going to miss some people that I've ran into, but I remember speaking with him. KT was there. Kerry Tharp was there. Kerry said he's 14 days into his retirement, and the wife hasn't run him out of the house yet. So that's all good. He looks good.
He's not bored
days.
Yet. Huh?
No, he looks good 14 days into his retirement. So I saw KT was there. And let's see, who else? Coach Ray Stackley from down at Stratford, formerly retired, of course, down in Charleston. He was there. So a bunch of high school football coaches were there. Coach Clifford, the former coach at Beaufort, Mark Clifford played at Clemson. He was there. And again, I apologize for not recalling everybody. I just tried to speak to as many people as possible and say hello. So it was just it was an uplifting time. And, he was a great man who impacted a lot of lives in this state, both on and off the playing field. I think he was as big in his religion and his beliefs and involvement with FCA. He started the FCA program at Clemson. He went to Frank Howard and suggested that they start an FCA program. And Howard said, okay. And he did. And he was very involved with that throughout his entire coaching career and afterwards. So anyway, it was a very nicely done funeral. We wish the best to the Baker family. I got a chance to talk to both of his sons, who are tremendous guys, or 2 of his sons. I don't know if he has any others, but 2 of them, and wish them well. So it was really well done. All right. Anything else going on that you've seen today, or shall we jump into phone calls?
I've not seen much. I saw one of the NBA games. I think the Warriors have postponed their game after the death of one of their assistants, who passed away at the age of 46. I believe it was, suffered a heart attack during a team dinner last night. Just a tragic story. But other than that, haven't seen a whole lot of movement outside of the exodus. Unbelievably so. The exodus from Alabama continues with 2 or 3 more kids jumping in the portal today. Yep.
Not so much about being at Bama as it is playing for a certain coach, I guess.
Indeed.
All right, well, let's get to the phone calls. That's got
to be the reason.
Phone calls. 888-898-2525, South Carolina. Education lottery lucky number. By the way, there were many more appeals heard today around the high school league for schools appealing where they have been placed in the new classification. I'm reading here from Lou Bajak. Christchurch won their appeal. American Leadership lost their appeal. So that's just a headline that he wrote on that tweet. So,
well, Christchurch, as we talked about last night, Phil, I thought it was going to be punitive if they made them stay at 4A. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're allowed now to they're only going up to AAA. I think 3A, if I'm not mistaken.
okay, that'll help them some. All right. Hey, Pat, if you would lead us into our phone calls. I don't have the sheet open, so if you would lead us, go right ahead.
More than happy to. And for both of our callers here, I love that we've got both sides of the rivalries. First, we're going to start off with Tiger Bryan over in Lancaster, and then follow right behind him with Gamecock Larry.
Well, you can't have one without the other. It's like salt and pepper. It's like day and night. It's like up and down, in and out, and any other type of connections you can make.
That's right. Hey, Tiger Bryan, too, one little news note for you might like as a Clemson fan. Former Tiger center and national champion Jay Guillermo. He was an offensive graduate assistant this past year on Tony Elliott's staff at UVA. He just posted a few minutes ago he has been named the new offensive line coach at Navy. So congratulations to him.
Anchors away. Tiger Bryan?
Hey.
Were you in the Navy? Were you in the Navy at one time?
No.
Okay.
No, not the Navy. Yeah.
No.
You're a Green Bay Packer fan, ain't you?
Yes, sir. Number one,
Man.
world's biggest, the greatest.
I know. You didn't know I was a Dallas fan, did you?
Well, I'm glad to know it now, you dirt-licking, yellow-belly Cowboy fan.
Well, I'm going to tell you what.
You better be glad I called off the
that.
dogs in the third quarter. I called off the dogs. I sent a text message. I said, call off the dogs.
Well, y'all whooped us like a red-headed stepchild. I know that.
Easy.
Careful now, careful.
Easy.
You redheaded?
Yeah, I'm teasing. I am, but I take no offense. But I like
He's not a stepchild, but he is redheaded.
Yeah. Yeah, but Mr. Tiger Bryan said, Cornblue don't even know you as a Dallas fan, does he? I said, no. I said, he said, well, I told her you was a Green Bay fan during the game.
Mm.
Yeah, I had a speech ready for you when we whooped y'all.
Yeah.
Yes.
But guess what?
Yeah.
Guess what? It didn't
I burnt
happen.
it with the trash.
It didn't happen.
I burnt my little notes with the trash. I mean,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
But you know what though? You think any of our other running backs since Moffitt's coming back at Clemson, you think someone will go through the portal? I mean,
well, you never know after spring practice. There's going to be another open period, and after guys go through spring ball and they evaluate things, I think that you'll see some movement. But I think their running back room is not so overburdened with players that, you got Moffitt coming back. You got Haynes. I think some people are pretty high on him and giving him a chance. I think Pat in particular is high on Haynes, and so he'll get his shot in the spring. You got the youngster coming in the class, so it's not like they got a bunch of them in there that they have to feel like they're not going to get a shot. So I wouldn't expect it. I think they're going to probably give all those guys a lot of work in the spring. Probably not give Moffitt so much because he doesn't need the work. You know what you got there.
That's right. And Keith Allen Jr. He's fullback. I mean, he's a big old boy, but but yeah, I'm looking good for the receivers, though. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, they think they really upgraded overall in their talent with the two that they signed in this class. And with what they've got coming back, they think these two are going to lift them up. Thank you, Cowboy fan loser.
Y'all have a good night.
Cowboys lose. Cowboy fan loser. Tiger Bryan, Tiger loser. Tiger Cowboy loser. That's what he is. Be back after the break. Rick Sanford coming up.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and very, very cold overnight with a low dropping to 22. Tomorrow we do warm up a bit, mostly sunny skies, a high of 54. Now we look ahead to the weekend. Our coldest day and night yet. Saturday will top out at just 39, and we'll have a nighttime low of 15 degrees. Bundle up. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Hey, who wants to make a resolution they can keep? Let's resolve to eat better pizza. Come on, you can do it with the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers. Let's start slow with the crust. We'll hand toss that spring water dough just for you. Then add the freshest ingredients and serve it hot. Now, lift it. You're doing it. It's a change of pizza lifestyle. Happy New You from the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting another Republican presidential debate has been canceled after Nikki Haley's refusal to participate in any forum that doesn't include ex-President Donald Trump. CNN announced Wednesday its Sunday debate is off. ABC and WMUR-TV a day earlier called off their Thursday debate. Haley says she'll only take part in debates if Trump is on stage. A power line fell on a car in Portland, Oregon on Wednesday, killing 3 people and injuring a baby during an ice storm that turned roads and mountain highways treacherous in the Pacific Northwest. The power line crashed into the car after being drawn down by the branch of a large tree. It's believed the car's passengers died when they exited the vehicle and became charged with electricity. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 94 points. The Nasdaq dropped 88. More details at srnnews.com.
Are you willing to risk it all? The White House, the House, the Senate, total Democratic control. Because poll after poll shows that Donald Trump is the weakest candidate against Joe Biden. With President Trump's criminal trials and the liberal media's bias against him, we just can't risk 4 more years of Biden and Harris. The right choice, Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley crushes Biden by double digits, even in swing states Trump lost in 2020. Nikki Haley is a strong leader, a proven conservative fighter with real solutions to get our country back on track. Haley will unite Republicans and help them win up and down the ballot. Nikki Haley is our strongest candidate against Joe Biden. And with Nikki Haley, America can win again. Vote Nikki Haley.
AFC Action is responsible for the content of this advertising. Paid for by AFC Action, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. AFCAction.com.
I was thinking about the things that matter to me when it comes to calling the plumber. First, most of us call the plumber out of a need, often a crisis. So you want reliability. Then we're in a vulnerable place already. So you want someone you can trust, someone who will be fair in their pricing and handle things professionally. These are some of the reasons I feel comfortable recommending Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. See, they've been out to my home. They've been out to my brother's home too. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning did such a great job. And you know, maybe this might not matter as much to some people, but they're locally owned. A lot of these plumbing companies you've heard of used to be local, and now they're owned by big national or even international conglomerates. Working with a locally owned company matters. It keeps your pricing down, and the money stays local here in the community. Josh and his team at Franklin makes customer service their top priority. I trust them. You can too, especially during these vulnerable times. Online, it's franklinplumbing.sc.com or call them 799-2222. That's 799-2222.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
As you welcome the new year, we invite you to celebrate with Palmetto State Armory, your go-to destination for all your firearm and outdoor needs. Whether you're a seasoned shooter or just starting out, we've got you covered from handguns and rifles, ammo and optics, and more. We offer a vast selection of top-quality products at unbeatable prices, and our knowledgeable staff are always ready to assist you in finding everything you need. Visit Palmetto State Armory today, either in-store or online, and let us help you make this new year one to remember. Happy New Year from all of us at Palmetto State Armory.
Drop top Porsche, rollie on my wrist, diamonds up and down my chain. Cardi B straight stunning, can't tell me nothing. Bossed up and I change the game. It's my big strong cook, he got all them girls shook. My big fat, he got all them boys cook. $1 bills and I be popping rubber bands. You know, stand to me while I do my money dance.
We're back on Sports Talk, Sports Talk Media Network. It's a very busy Wednesday night, hooping and hollering. John Combs coming up a little bit after 7. SC Wild with Major Downer, 7:35. Try and drop in some post-game comments from Brad Brownell, Lamont Harris from last night as well, plus a recruiting update. But right now, it is indeed our pleasure, our honor. We bend the knee, seldom, but we bend the knee on this occasion. As we welcome back to Sports Talk, draft pick, first round, number 1 in South Carolina history, All-American, All-SEC. No, you weren't All-SEC. Whatever you were back then. Number 25, the good doctor, Rick Sanford. And belated happy birthday.
Well, thank you, Phil. You know, that's quite a welcome you gave me. I was all independent, though. You remember that, right?
I was just testing you. It is great to have you with us. My apologies because I planned to have you last week. I even mentioned we were going to have you, and I dropped the ball. It was the day that Saban retired. What was your reaction when you heard that come down?
Well, I'm not really surprised. I mean, he was 72 years old, and I guess in this phase of his life, and this time, you know, with the NIL and all that going on, I mean, who wants to fight all that? I don't really understand, you know, how the NCAA has, you know, they're going to have to do something about this. Or either if they don't, it's just going to, college football is kind of going to go away and just, you know, they use it right now, really anyway, Phil, for a feeder system for the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, now it's going to be, you know, just almost college is not going to be college.
But it seems like, Rick, people still love college football, television ratings, which I think are somewhat influenced by all the gambling and people watching to see if they win their bet. But right now, I don't see where the interest is being impacted. Now, it might happen 10 or 15 years down the road, maybe less, maybe not. But right now, I don't see where anything's being hurt by what's going on. Believe me now, I'm not crazy about it. I've sort of accepted it. I'm not crazy about it. But I don't see where it's hurting anything right now in those areas where you look to see if something is starting to lose itself.
Well, Phil, I think you have to look at the haves and the have-nots in the future. And the haves are going to be the ones that's going to get all the players. And those are the schools that can afford these people, the Texas A&M, the Southern Cal, the probably Ohio State, you know, these type of people that can afford the NIL. And then they're going to continue to win. Now, what's going to happen to the teams that are going to be middle tier, though? Don't you think some of those fans are finally going to just say, I've had it, we're not winning, we're not going to win? I think the interest is going to wane at some point if the NCAA, which is the athletic director of the done nothing but enrich themselves, and they had plenty of opportunity through the years to fix this, and they never did.
You might go to them one year and say, look, man, we need $600,000 to keep this quarterback to help us win.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you get a guy to do that. Okay. This guy, he plays, whatever, he leaves. And now next year, you got a wide receiver that you need to pay $400,000 to keep him to help you win. Well, you're going to go back to the same guy, Or have you got some? The point is, you're over the next how many years, decades, trying to run a system that way?
I don't know that you can. I'm like you, Phil. I agree with what you're saying, and I don't know how you're going to be able to do that when you don't have. But donors age too. They're going to age out, and then you got to go look for new donors. It's just going to be a continual cycle. I just think the NCAA brought this on themselves. It's not that I blame the players. I really blame. More so, I blame the admins, like you said, the people who were really, I think, responsible for this. They didn't have a problem enriching themselves, but they sure had a problem, giving some kind of stipend to players that, it's kind of ridiculous to me, Phil, when you look at a player that can't even go sign autographs and make money off of it. And then there's some type of certain food you can't feed a player or something.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
Yeah, they were over the top, no question about it. They were severely over the top with their heavy-handedness in trying to legislate everything. They were trying to legislate everything. And look, we know that there were schools doing stuff under the table back then, which today it would be totally legal. Though the NCAA now, I don't know where they came up with this, this penalty that they've imposed on Florida State for violating their NIL rules. Well, then you might as well go ahead and prosecute 75 other schools right now, because Florida State is by far and away not alone in what they've been using NIL to entice recruits or to try to keep players, which the NCAA states you can't do. It's just, and it's open. Nobody's even hiding the fact that they're trying to buy players to either stay or come to their program. So you might as well go ahead and start prosecuting about 75 other programs.
Well, I totally agree with you, and I don't understand how you can single out, one school when they've all been doing it. And I don't mean all, but like you said, there's probably multiple schools out there been doing the same thing. Are they just waiting around to see when somebody's going to knock on their door or what? In regards to this finding, but Phil, it could have been averted, I think, a long time ago. If they, I said this a long time ago. I said if you'd have given every one of those players $2,000 a month, he probably would never be in this position. And their education. But the education's kind of fell by the wayside. But $2,000 or $3,000 a month would have been, dude, that would have been like. You'd have thought you were rich playing in college with that kind of money.
Would have made you happy, wouldn't it? It would have made you happy.
Well, how many players are on scholarship, Phil? Is it 80 or 90?
85.
Or how
you can have 85 on scholarship.
Okay, so 85 times 2 or 3. I'd much rather be paying $175,000 up to maybe what 250 for all the players and keeping everybody happy than the money they're having to pay out to one to 4 or 5 guys right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Good point.
It's crazy.
Very lucky to have a guest who can actually be a Swiss Army knife as Rick Sanford joins us now, because he's an expert in college sports. He's also an expert in the NFL. And Rick, I wanted to focus in on the NFL. And I was telling Phil, after we got through the wild card weekend, the super wild card weekend that the NFL has now promoted onto us with 6 games this past weekend. None of them outside of the Rams-Detroit Lions game was all that competitive. Is that an indictment because we don't have guys opting out of playoff games in the NFL? They want to win. All those teams want to win. Is that an indictment on the new schedule, the new expanded playoffs, or is it just an aberration in your mind that, no offense, Phil, that a 7th seed can go in and knock off a team like Dallas to open up the playoffs?
That wasn't just any 7th seed. That was the Green Bay Packers.
playoffs now. And a team like the Packers, can get hot like this at the end of the season. Go back to when the Giants beat the Patriots, and when the Patriots were 18-0, the Giants just got hot at the end of the season. So, I mean, it's a good opportunity for teams to, have the chance to continue to play. I think the Packers feel, by the way, I mean, that was a wonderful victory. Anytime the Cowboys lose, it's a great thing. But I will say this, Phil, I think they're about ready to get mowed down this coming week.
Well, I think that the challenge is great. Let me just defend my Packers here. The challenge is great, okay? But I think that we'll see what happens. The 49ers have weapons, running back, tight end, wide receiver,
everywhere.
Well, and their defense, they got a great sack man on defense. I know that. Yeah. But okay, let's just don't sell the Packers too short right now, Dr. Rick. Let's don't sell them too short.
All right. Well, I will say this, Phil. You're going to owe me lunch if the Packers don't. I'll take the 49ers and you take the Packers.
And you know what? And I will only take 5 points. Okay, I'll only take 5 points.
I knew you were coming with the point.
But Rick, it brings up an interesting question though about San Francisco and also on the AFC side of the coin, Baltimore. You've been in the NFL or used to play in the NFL for a long time. What is momentum like in the playoffs? I mean, is there an advantage to having that week off, or does Green Bay actually have maybe the upper hand because they're coming in hot, as you pointed out, having won a playoff game already on the road in a place that nobody else had won this season? I mean, does Green Bay maybe have an edge because they played last weekend?
Well, that is a theory out there. I think, in my opinion, I would want the rest. But there is something to be said for, continuing to play. I think that it does help the Packers because the Packers are young. That is one thing about the Packers. That's one of the youngest teams I've seen in the NFL to be at the
too busy trying to solve every problem on the planet, so that's fine. And it's sitting in dark rooms and things like that. So we appreciated the contributions, but time to move on.
All right. Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah. Appreciate his contributions, but time to move on.
That's right.
Dr. Rick is with us for a few more minutes here. I went to the funeral today for Art Baker over in Sumter, and I know that was somebody that you knew extremely well, both of you in the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame, and your paths crossed, I'm sure, many, many times on football fields and football offices. And what are your remembrances and your thoughts about him?
Well, he was a wonderful man, number one. One of the kindest gentlemen that you would ever meet was Art Baker. There's no doubt about that. He actually recruited me, Phil, when he was at Furman, coming out of high school.
Really?
And yes, got to know Coach Baker, and really a fine man. I've known him for years and years and years, and he's just one of the nicest, kindest people you would ever meet. Now, I don't know if his former players would say the same, but I think one thing about Coach Baker, I think he was always a fair person about everything, and he always he just had a zest about him. When you sat down and talked to him, he just brought out happiness, and he was just such a kind man. And I hated to see his passing, but boy, I tell you, you talk about an icon in the state of South Carolina in athletics. His career at Citadel, Furman, and when he was at South Carolina, and look at that coaching tree he coached under. Back with. Well, go back and look at Coach Jim Carlin's. When Jim was coaching. Art was on the staff. Bobby Bowden was on his staff at Texas Tech. I mean, you just go in West Virginia and you go back and look at his coaching tree, and I'm sure he has spurned out tons of coaches himself. So, you just can't say enough good things about a man like Coach Art Baker.
Absolutely. In fact, they had several of his former Eau Claire high school players were there. They asked those guys to stand, and we all know about the guys that coached under him at Eau Claire, Dick Sheridan, Jimmy Satterfield, Steve Robertson. I think Mike O'Kane was on that staff. But one I did not know until they mentioned it today was Buddy Sasser. I didn't know Buddy Sasser was on that Eau Claire High School coaching staff.
I did not know that either. I did not know. And boy, what a high school staff.
Really? I mean, that's some serious coaching right there, dude.
Yeah, that is some serious coaching. I think I'd find a way to play football at Eau Claire back then if I could.
Speaking of coaching, before we let you go here, next 3 or 4 minutes, let's get your take on Clemson and South Carolina coming off of this past season. What kind of opinion, what kind of take do you have on the job Dabo Swinney did at Clemson, the kind of job Shane Beamer did at South Carolina?
Well, I think, Dabo, as much as he gets criticized, you win 10 games. I mean, that's still a pretty good program. But I do think they did very well. The thing that I would be concerned about if I was Clemson is my quarterback play, Phil. I'm just not sold on Klubnik going forward. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think he's a good football player. Mm-hmm. I think he's a good football player, but there's something missing there, and I don't know what it is. I think he needs to improve his passing. He needs to do quite a few things about his mechanics. I think need to be better, and I'm just not sold there. I think that Clemson needs to, look at competition at the quarterback level, and I'm sure they do. They look at quarterback. They've done this before with DJ, and when they brought Klubnik along. So I don't know, Phil. I'm a little skeptical at their quarterback, but they still won 10 games, so that's still not a bad season. Over on the South Carolina side, I thought Shane did the best job he could with what he had. I think South Carolina. They just have a ways to go, Phil. They just have a ways to go, and that they're going to have to continue to try to build themselves through the portal. That's a very, very tough job. I've said it for years. South Carolina is very difficult because of the conference they play in and because of the people that are in that conference with them. And it's going to be difficult to continue to, win. A 10-win season over there is a monumental thing. Look at Ole Miss this year, winning as many as they did. That's monumental for Ole Miss to compete in that conference like that. Now, I'll be interested to see if Ole Miss can sustain that, like the programs like Georgia and Alabama and those type schools. I don't think they will. I think they'll be good next year, but I don't know that they can sustain it. And I'm not sure if you're a South Carolina fan that you're ever going to be able to expect 9 and 10 win seasons as long as they're playing in the Southeastern Conference. I think you can, I think a great season for South Carolina now is looking at 7 or 8 wins. That's just the way it is, and that's you got to accept that. And I still think there's going to be a lot of questions to be answered for South Carolina at the quarterback position this year. And it's going to be difficult for, unless we can get some protection up front for Sellers or whoever's going to be the quarterback. I think it's going to be him, but I think that they're going to struggle as long as they can't protect the quarterback. And yeah, I applaud Rattler for hanging in there the way he did this year, because there were times I tell you, I don't know how he stayed upright as much as he did, but. Hopefully Sellers will come in and do well, and hopefully this kid from Arkansas coming in will help, with the running game. And I think they've got a chance. I think, but when you're South Carolina, I think you're looking at 7 to 8 wins. And if you have that, I think that's a very, very successful season.
Dr. Rick, always great talking to you. Happy birthday once again. You still, look like you could put the pads on today and flatten somebody. So,
Well, I'm just too skinny and too stiff for that now, still.
Well, we love you, man, and thanks for being with us on the program as always. And
Thanks,
we
Rick.
will see you down the road.
Thanks, Rick. Miss you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all so very much for having me on.
Great talking to you. Yes, sir.
All right, buddy.
Dr. Rick Sanford, number 25 in your program, number 1 draft pick, state of South Carolina history, outstanding 7-year, 8-year career, NFL, All-American, Gamecocks. Still can crack your bones because, he is a doctor. Be right back. We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, it's the fall in South Carolina. That means it's deer season. What do people need to know about?
That's right, Phil. It is deer season. We always want to remind hunters to identify your target. Know the identifying features of the game you're hunting. Make sure that it's a deer before you take that shot. When walking to and from your stand in low light, use a flashlight so that no one will mistake you for a deer. For more information on hunting safety and more information on deer season, listen to our show on Wednesday nights on the Sports Talk Media Network.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
When trouble comes like the accidents do, we all get sick and the bills pile too. There's only one number that can help see you through. And if you're healthy, here's what you should do. Call 605-7905. That's the number that you need to know. 605-7905. $0 deductible. What's a deductible, you say? That's the price you have to pay before the insurance will say we'll help you. They keep that number out of reach because they know that you won't reach that number because they know you're healthy. 605-7905. $0 deductible. 605-7905. 727 is the area code.
Yeah, automatic freezing full effect. You ready, Ron? I'm ready. You ready, Dave? I'm ready.
Thanks again to Dr. Rick Sanford for being with us on Sports Talk. If you missed any or all of that interview, it'll be available for you in podcast form. After the show tonight, be sure to check out our podcasts. You can catch the whole show. You can catch various elements of the show, and our podcasts are available to you in a number of different locations like Spotify and SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. Wherever your podcasts are available, just do the search for Sports Talk, SportsTalkSC and the like, and you'll find it, and we'll be back.
WXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Biden hosted congressional leaders at the White House Wednesday to push for fresh aid to Ukraine, with Republicans insisting they must first get major concessions on southern border security. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says the Senate could vote on President Biden's supplemental funding package next week.
We have a number of important international responsibilities. And I think it's time to go ahead with the supplemental. And I'm anticipating they'll be before us next week.
But House Speaker Mike Johnson says Republicans want transformative changes at the border.
The human catastrophe cannot be overstated. The border is a catastrophe, and it has to be addressed. And you're going to see House Republicans stand in and fighting on that hill because it's important for the country.
The Biden administration announced on Wednesday it has decided to reclassify the Houthis in Yemen as a specially designated global terrorism group. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller says the U.S. does not want the sanctions to hurt Yemen civilians.
We are working to mitigate any adverse impacts of this designation on the people of Yemen, including through the issuance of 5 general licenses by the Treasury Department designed to ensure that food, fuel, critical humanitarian aid, and essential commercial goods are able to continue flowing to vulnerable Yemeni civilians.
Another Republican presidential debate's been canceled after Nikki Haley's refusal to participate in any forum that doesn't include ex-President Donald Trump. CNN announced Wednesday its Sunday debate is off. ABC and WMUR-TV a day earlier called off their Thursday debate. Haley says she'll only take part in debates if Trump is on stage. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 94 points, the Nasdaq dropped 88, the S&P lower by 26. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans while taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
The Dinesh D'Souza podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
For the left, it's generally you open a door, and then if you notice that no one is pushing back to shut the door, you go right through it, and then you kick in the next door. If we offer no resistance, our past will basically be nothing more than a series of leftist incidents designed to overcome our past.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
5. China's population has fallen for a second straight year as births drop even after the end of the state's one-child policy.
China's population fell by 2 million people in 2023, in its second straight annual decrease, according to its government. The birth rate dropped for the 7th straight year, and deaths jumped following the end of COVID-19 restrictions. The number of deaths rose by 690,000 to 11.1 million total deaths in 2023. That's more than double the previous year's increase. Experts say the rise comes from an aging of the population and the widespread COVID-19 outbreaks that started in December 2022 and continued into February of last year. I'm Karen Chamas.
Kensington Palace says the Princess of Wales has been hospitalized after undergoing planned abdominal surgery and will remain at a private clinic for up to 2 weeks. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and very, very cold overnight with a low dropping to 22. Tomorrow we do warm up a bit, mostly sunny skies, a high of 54. Now we look ahead to the weekend, our coldest day and night yet. Saturday will top out at just 39, and we'll have a nighttime low of 15 degrees. Brr, bundle up. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
As a kid, you dreamed of being a firefighter one day. Now, the opportunity is yours. Answer the sound of sirens. Live your dream. Become a part of a team, a family. Visit scvolunteerfire.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network on a Wednesday night. Terrific show so far. Great comments, great conversation, great intellect, great insight, great analysis. Great. Rick Sanford, great as well. Coming up, a great high school basketball segment. Hooping and hollering with Coach John Combs. In just a second, let me update some hoops. Furman winning big at VMI, 51-36. Kentucky leading Mississippi State 8-5. Ole Miss 6-3 over LSU. Virginia Tech 6-4 over Virginia. Chris, do you think it's just a waste of time to give scores of the first 3 minutes of a game?
It usually is, because unless it's just one team that's so much better than the other, it's not going to decide the game. I doubt Kentucky's 8-5 advantage over Mississippi State. It may hold, but I doubt that the Bulldogs are thinking we got no shot now.
Florida State 8-5 over Miami. Longwood 2-0 over Upstate. That's my favorite. PC leads High Point.
That's a score you need to give out.
Yeah, High Point. PC leads 7-4. East Tennessee and Wofford 3-3 in their game. Greensboro 6-3 over the Citadel. Louisville, North Carolina later tonight. That should be a bloodbath. North Carolina 5-0 in the ACC, and Louisville is still just bad. Auburn and Vanderbilt later on tonight as well. In the Sun Belt, Appalachian leading Georgia State 32-25. Now, high school basketball Wednesday night. It's the calm after the storm of games last night and the calm before the storm of games coming up on Friday. Let's welcome in Coach John Combs, another edition of Hoopin' and Hollerin' on a Wednesday night, talking high school hoops in South Carolina with the director of the South Carolina Basketball Coaches Association, a former head coach himself. Coach, good evening. How are you? It's great to have you with us once again.
Wow, good evening to y'all. It's awesome to be here once again to talk a little high school basketball. Great night for it.
Absolutely. Anything last night around the state catch your eye as far as some of the results went?
Well, no, nothing particular. It was just finally nice to have a Tuesday night where we were actually able to play games. I mean, last week, Tuesday and Friday, were both impacted by weather. And it was a lot of makeup games last night, and come off Martin Luther King Day games that were on Monday. Matter of fact, there's a lot of games going on tonight. Matter of fact, I know Westwood and Ridgeview are playing each other in boys and girls basketball. And the boys side in 4A, that's number 1 versus number 3 in our polls. So there's some good basketball going on all this week.
I was looking at your polls. They come out on Tuesday. For those who are wondering, the girls and boys top 10 rankings from the Coaches Association comes out on Tuesday afternoon. And so I was just kind of scanning through them. Off of your memory, as you think about the rankings, boys and girls across the state, anything really surprise you there? Is it pretty much typical, or do we have anybody who's kind of broken into the rankings that ordinarily, might not be there? A school or two that you can cite?
I mean, there's not one. I mean, you got St. James in 5A is ranked 3rd. I mean, that's a high ranking for them. They're kind of a younger program. There's a big win, actually. Burns High School beat Dorman the other night, and that was before the rankings came out. I think Burns was at 5, Dorman was at 4, so that was good. Westwood High School, my former school, they're 3rd in 4A. That's a high ranking. And our guest we had last week, Trent Robinson, doing a great job first year. It's there's a lot of the traditional schools out there that are doing it. This is where we start separating. We're second week in the region play, and this is where we start seeing who's for real and who's kind of pretending.
Well, we have a special guest tonight once again, and her team is one of the best teams in the state, regardless of class, because they're just an excellent program. They also happen to have maybe the best player in the country, or one of them. So I'll let you introduce our guest and take it from there.
Well, first of all, we're excited to have Coach Natalie Norris from Camden joining us. And I will say this: not going to go out on a ledge, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think they are the best girls basketball team we have here in the state. She's done a great job with her program, and last year they won a state championship over a very good Wren basketball team. So it's great to have Coach Norris with us tonight. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, great. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, that's great, Coach. How's Region play starting off for y'all so far this year?
Well, we're off to a good start. We're 2-0 right now. We were, like so many other schools, were really impacted last week in that we didn't get to play either of our region games. So we're looking at a couple of 3-game weeks in the next couple of weeks to get those games made up.
Of course, Coach, you coach Joyce Edwards. She just recently earned a big-time milestone. I want you to tell us a little bit about what milestone, someone she just passed recently.
Yeah, just this weekend, Joyce, I guess, took over the number 2 spot in the all-time South Carolina scoring list. She surpassed Allison Feaster on the list and stands alone at number 2.
I saw that. That was a lot, and I did a little quick math. Number 1 was Ivory Latta. That one might be a little tough for her to get. I'm guessing, but right. I wouldn't put anything past. I wouldn't put anything past her for sure on that.
Joyce has just been remarkable.
Well, tell us, Coach, what's it been like to coach her this year? Now, especially that she's got her college commitment aside and done with going to University of South Carolina. How has that been to coach her this year?
It's been great as it's been. You know, Joyce is a 6-year senior for us. 6-year starter, and Joyce is just remarkable. Her work ethic is top notch. There's been no let up in her work. She's not coasting through this last year. And so it's been really special to see her commitment to continue to play at such a high level.
Well, Coach, I should have mentioned at the top, you played at the University of South Carolina with Coach Walvius, if I'm not mistaken. How is it for you that she is committed to play at the school you played at?
Oh, it's been really, really neat. Joyce obviously was pursued by really every big program in the country, and to see her settle on South Carolina has been really, really neat. And I just think it's so good for the state. Coach Staley has done such a great job at keeping the best players at home, and Joyce being a part of that it's going to be really, really special to watch her to continue to grow and contribute to this great South Carolina program.
I do have to ask, did you enjoy the recruiting process? Did you enjoy getting to meet all these college coaches and all the attention that was going on, or was it more challenging, or how would you describe that? It was neat.
Just seeing all the different people come through the gym at Camden. It was a special time for our school, for our program. It was a lot of positive attention, and Joyce has always just carried herself so well, and it's just been it's been nothing but a positive. Now, I didn't have to deal with as many phone calls as Joyce had to. But from my standpoint, it's all been a positive.
Well, one thing, Coach, we talk a lot about Joyce Edwards, and good reason for it, because she is an outstanding basketball player and an outstanding young lady, great family. But you got more on your team than just Joyce. Talk a little bit about your team, because I think you've got a great mixture of older people and some really good younger players coming through the pipeline.
Yeah, John, thanks. We've got in our starting lineup, we have 2 other seniors who've been varsity players since the 8th grade. Zaisha Carter at the point guard and Deanna Jeffcoat, a shooter. Morgan Champion is a junior starter for us who's been on the varsity since the 7th grade. So she's a 5th-year junior. And then we have a freshman, Braylon Mungo, who's already attracted multiple Division I offers and is playing at a really high level. And then our first 2 kids off the bench are freshmen who are contributing every single night, in Shanaria Wright and Harmony Jefferson. So we're real fortunate that we do have Joyce, who I do believe is the best player in the country. We have some awfully good pieces around her.
Coach, if I could ask a quick question about Joyce, Coach, and thank you for being with us. From your conversations with Coach Staley and with Joyce and her conversation with Coach Staley, how do they envision her fitting in the program? What kind of role? And if you could perhaps compare her to a former USC women's player that she might be similar to give us an idea, how do they see her fitting in with what they do?
A game that we've seen them play this year, Joyce is gonna slide seamlessly into that, and you hate to put any kind of pressure like making a comparison like I'm about to, but Joyce has the skill set of a player like an Asia Wilson, with her ability to handle the ball, to to see people in the open floor, to shoot. I mean, she just has an outstanding all-around game, and she's such a smart player, such a high basketball IQ. Coach Staley's going to be able to use her in a variety of ways, I really believe.
Go ahead, Coach Combs.
Well, Coach, speaking of best player in the country, and I'll echo that sentiment for sure. You played in one of the great environments in basketball earlier this year in the Chick-fil-A Classic when you matched up against Grace Christian and Sarah Strong. How was that experience for you and your team to play in such a high-level game? I know Coach Staley and other coaches were there in attendance. How was that for you and your team?
It was really neat. It was our second year being able to participate in the Chick-fil-A, and we're so appreciative of them giving girls teams an opportunity to play in that kind of venue. But it was really special to play in front of it was a really, really good crowd, a real exciting atmosphere, and nothing but positives from us to be able to be part of that kind of environment.
Well, I know it was a great environment for high school basketball, regardless, boys, girls. I think it was an amazing game. And, what did you see out of Sarah Strong? I know I think she hit like 3 threes or 4 threes in the first quarter against y'all. And first of all, I will applaud you for playing a very difficult schedule. There are some coaches that will not do it, but you were challenging your team. I think you're about 14-2 on the year, and your only 2 losses, I believe, are to out-of-state teams that are high-level opponents, but I'll give you a lot of credit for that. How do you see Sarah Strong and that matchup with her and Joyce? That had to have been really good for both of them to compete against each other.
That was really neat, and we knew coming in Sarah Strong what kind of player she was, and we knew she could shoot the 3, but I don't think we expected her to go 7 of 10, which I think she did from 3 that night. So she was certainly exceptional, and both of those young women lived up to the billing and played and really showed why they're so highly regarded across the country.
I got to ask, how is it to coach Deanna Jeffcoat? How is that to coach her and that dynamic? I've always wondered how that type of dynamic works as a coach. I've got 2 daughters, and I'm not so sure it'd work so well if I was coaching my daughters at a high-level sport like that.
Well, it's been really special in the things that we've been able to experience together and achieve together. But I would be lying if I didn't say it doesn't come with some challenges, because the other 10 girls I leave at the gym, but that one comes home with me, and so that's had a few little challenging moments along the way, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been really, really special.
Does she call you in the gym? Does she call you mom, or does she call you coach?
She slips and says mom every now and then, but for the most part, it's coach.
That's great. That's great.
Well, and Coach, share with us one more time. I know last year you were coming off of losing a really tough state championship to Keenan, and then now last year you won it. How's the motivation this year going for a repeat? How is that motivation for you and your team?
Well, as I was saying earlier, we've got such a veteran team, 5, 6 years as varsity players. And so they have very high expectations of themselves individually and for us as a team. And, there's never been a girls basketball team at Camden High who's ever won back-to-back state championships. And so that's very much, on their mind. But it has been a different mindset this year because, we feel like we've kind of gone from the the hunters to the more, I guess, hunted, and taking some people's best shots and having just to be really, really ready every single night.
Well, that's great. Now, what's the challenge now? I mean, in region play, what are you working on to try to get better as you prepare for the playoffs, which will be here in 2 or 3 weeks? Right.
It'll be here really soon. Well, as always, there are lots of things that we need to tighten up and clean up. We need to rebound the ball better. We need to take care of the ball a little bit better. Need to shoot a little better. So, all of those things have lots of room for improvement for us. But, we feel like we're starting to hit our stride, which, you want to be this time of year. We definitely don't want our best games to have been a month ago. So we feel like we're headed in the right direction.
Well, that's great. Coach, is there anything else you'd like to share with us that maybe we didn't touch on, or any of the players you want to talk about?
We're just really appreciative of being able to come on here and talk about the kids from Camden, and really thank you for thinking of us, and I really appreciate it. But I think that's about all.
Super. Okay. Well, coaches, we thank y'all so much for being with us. Go ahead, Coach.
I was just going to say thank you very much for what you do, Coach. You work really hard, and excited about the playoffs and everything coming up. We just thank you for your time tonight.
Oh gosh, well, thank you, John. Sure appreciate all you do for basketball in our state. You do a great job.
Thank you, Coach. And Coach Combs, thank you, sir. Great stuff, as always.
Thank you. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you, Coach. Coach John Combs. Appreciate Coach being with us tonight, and always great to have him with us for hooping and hollering on a Wednesday night here on Sports Talk. And our thanks as well to Coach Norris from Camden High School, Coach Natalie Norris, and the great job she's doing at Camden. And a team that, as we said earlier, probably could win a championship in any class. That's how good they are. I was just thinking, should we have an all-state type of playoff in South Carolina, a one champion type thing like they did in Indiana? What do you think? Be right back.
Last year was a big year for Founders Federal Credit Union and our amazing members. A total of $30 million was given back to qualifying members in the form of loyalty bonus dividends, proving once again that it pays to be a Founders member. Founders is also committed to pouring time and resources into the local communities we serve. If you aren't a member yet, what are you waiting for? Join Founders today. Visit foundersfcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required.
George Bryant here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. And Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different. It's engaging, but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. If you or a loved one are over 65 and haven't completed a long-term care planning consultation, now is the time. Did you know that if you aren't able to afford the high cost of skilled care, your assets can be rapidly depleted to only $2,000 unless you plan 5 years in advance? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wow from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. In fact, the lottery has raised more than $200 million for state school buses to get our students to school safely every day. Then, the lottery helps those students go even further in their education by funding the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. So remember, when you play the lottery, you're keeping South Carolina students on the road to success. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through co-op connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
All right, thanks again to Coach Combs, Coach Norris for being with us, hooping and hollering here on Sports Talk. Give you the recruiting report now. It is brought to you by Seawells. Tomorrow's a Thursday, and what's on the menu? I know what we got Friday. It's a roast beef Friday, so make plans to get out there for that. But for the buffet tomorrow, we got what?
Spaghetti, carved applewood smoked ham, and chicken tendies out there, which I'm sure are also great in gravy. And then, yeah, Friday will be a roast beef Friday along with southern fried chicken and shrimp Alfredo.
How do you put apple in wood to create apple wood? To get that flavor?
I defer to Chris.
Yeah. How would you do that, Chris? How would you get
I don't
apple
know.
flavor
One thing,
in
it
wood?
really works well with bacon.
Yeah.
Really works well with bacon,
it
but I
does.
don't know how it works.
Probably a smoking process of some degree.
So it's the wood from an apple tree.
Well, there you go. Simple enough. And don't forget, for catering, it's Seawells at 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Few notes for you of interest and import. Linebacker Brett Clatterbaugh out of Virginia will visit Clemson January 27th. He goes to Penn State this weekend, Virginia Tech on the 29th per Adam Friedman Rivals. Blythewood defensive tackle Sterling Sanders will visit USC this weekend. Liberty the 27th, Florida February 3rd. Clemson and USC apparently are on the outside of the top three with offensive tackle David Sanders of Charlotte. This according to a story by Evan Crowell of Vols Country FN on SI.com. Obviously, he's writing from a Tennessee standpoint, and Tennessee is, according to this story, one of the schools heavily involved, but he's got not South Carolina nor Clemson in this story among the favorites, which would come as a surprise to them, I think, because I think they both think they've got a good shot at this kid from Charlotte. 2026 cornerback Samari Matthews of Cornelius, North Carolina, plans to visit USC Saturday. USC offered defensive end Kabi Sakai Pra. Kabi Sakai Pra. 6'3", 225, Roswell, Georgia. Rock Hill receiver Malik Clark was offered by NC State. Former He visits USC this weekend. Alabama transfer corner Des Ricks committed to Texas A&M. We just saw a tweet that said 9 Arizona players entered the transfer portal, John, in the last half hour. We also saw a tweet that said, what was it? All of Washington's starting offensive players are in the transfer portal, John?
That's correct. Or leaving of some sort, NFL draft or whatever the case may be. But yeah, they've crossed out every single member of their starting 11 on offense off their depth chart.
What does that say about a school, its academics, and everything else it offers a kid, that as soon as the coach leaves, the kid leaves? You know, it's like everything else about the program in the school never mattered to them. All right, hit the break. SC Wild coming up. Don't go away.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and very, very cold overnight with a low dropping to 22. Tomorrow we do warm up a bit, mostly sunny skies, a high of 54. Now we look ahead to the weekend, our coldest day and night yet. Saturday will top out at just 39, and we'll have a nighttime low of 15 degrees. Bundle up. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman-Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat and Place. Just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat and Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
News. Keith Peters reporting the U.S. military has launched another wave of missiles against Houthi-controlled sites in Yemen, marking the fourth time in days it has directly targeted the group. That's according to U.S. officials who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss details that have not been made public yet. The strikes followed the official announcement Wednesday that the U.S. has put the Houthis back on its list of specially designated global terrorists. A power line fell on a car in Portland, Oregon, killing 3 people and injuring a baby during an ice storm that turned roads and mountain highways treacherous in the Pacific Northwest. The power line crashed into the car Wednesday after being drawn down by the branch of a large tree. The car's passengers died when they exited the vehicle and became charged with electricity. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 94 points. More details at srnnews.com.
I've gone from being the skeptic to now emphatically endorsing the idea of solar power for your home or business. But make no mistake, my skepticism was legit because there's only one solar company I've come to believe in. That's Broker Solar. They're local. They're in Lexington. They're not door knockers and high-pressure salespeople. So what about those questions? Broker Solar answered them. How much does it cost? Who gets tax credits? Why should I get a solar battery in addition to solar panels? What type of warranty comes with such an important investment? Kim, Matt, and the team changed my skepticism for confidence. I've been to their job sites, and I am in awe of how the technology has evolved. I'm so impressed with the workmanship from Broker Solar. I've talked to their customers. It all makes so much sense now. Oh, and listen, these politicians, the media's attempt to guilt you with green this and save the planet that, that's not why you want solar power. You want it because it really will save you money. It really gives you control of your power bill instead of the power companies. Hey, find out more online at brokersolar.com or just give them a call. 807-7417. That's 807-7417.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
As you welcome the new year, we invite you to celebrate with Palmetto State Armory, your go-to destination for all your firearm and outdoor needs. Visit Palmetto State Armory today, either in-store or online, and let us help you make this new year one to remember. Happy New Year from all of us at Palmetto State Armory.
Thinking about investing in a hot tub? Great idea. Hot tubs offer relax and hydrate therapy for tired muscles and stressed minds. But beware, all spas are not the same. At Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, we offer hot spring and free flow spas exclusively for their quality, energy efficiency, and affordability. And we have everything to keep your spa and pool sparkling, clean, and crystal clear. Come see it all at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, Forest Drive at jackoliverpools.com.
Hey, all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven-baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks, y'all, and God bless.
Hi, this is Joel Lurie. I'm the host of Health Matters every Monday morning from 9 to 10 right here on 100.7 The Point. Join me as we talk about issues impacting your health and our community. It's Health Matters every Monday at 9 a.m. right here on The Point.
Now on Sports Talk, it's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to take your questions about the great outdoors in South Carolina. Give him a call at 888-898-2525. It's SC Wild from DNR on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
All right, time to go outdoors if you dare here on Sports Talk. SC Wild with Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources, and he'll be with us in I didn't give the other schools, but he listed for the player Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia as the top schools with Sanders. So that's why I said it looks like Clemson and South Carolina currently on the outside of the three. We welcome in Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources to SC Wild on Sports Talk. Good evening, sir. How are you?
A good cold evening it is, isn't it?
Well, it is, and that was going to be my kickoff topic with you because I think we are an open topic show tonight. And if anybody wants to join us with a comment or a question, the Major's always willing to take your comments, your questions, your observations, your praise, maybe even a little criticism if you can come up with some criticism. 888-898-2525 is how you reach the Major. So it's going to be really cold here the next couple of nights through the weekend. So just some things off the top of your head and maybe that you do yourself to take defense against the cold outside for things that you need to take action against. What would some of those things be in your mind?
Well, I mean, we're talking about around the house, around the farm, a little different. Boats, we talked about that last time, making sure your motors are all the way down, that you have your foot clear of water. There's no water sitting in the foot. A lot of times people keep the motors propped up. Water will gather in the back of the prop. If it freezes, that can actually cause problems. So lowering your unit, that motor all the way down so the water can drain out. It's always a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
From a standpoint, everybody's covering up their faucets and everything else right now for these cold nights. But, it's funny. It's South Carolina. We got a low of 17 coming up in a couple of days, and then right behind that, we got 75 degrees next week. So I always laugh and say it's welcome to South Carolina. If you don't like the weather today, just wait; it'll be different tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, but we do enjoy cold weather when it comes to waterfowl hunting, and we are going to get some of that. It's going to be pushing up north. I know up north of us, looking in the teens. I was in New Jersey last week enjoying a little vacation with some other officers, and we were sharing time with a game warden friend of ours up there and just had a really good time, just joking, hanging out, hunting a few ducks. And they are going to be in the 10-11 zone this week here and this weekend. So when that happens above us, typically that can push ducks down. And so we'll see if that does that for us here, a little late season push. Our waterfowling has been pretty good from the standpoint this year in some areas. I've been talking about the coast, and again, just want to go over some of the numbers of where we've been this last report on our coastal areas, our category 1 areas, again, the draw hunt areas. Our number 1 area was at 5.4. There you go, that 0.4 duck again per man. That was Murphy Island continues to be in the lead. Total of 86 birds harvested by 16 hunters, and they shot 325 times. One of the things that we'll talk about tonight a little bit more, I'm going to get a little bit more detailed into when we're looking at each one of these areas, is how many times folks shoot, and just which is indicative of how good the hunting may be, because sometimes people aren't very good shots. And so potentially they should have all limited out. The limit's 6, so pretty much everybody should have limited out there. The top duck in the bag for Murphy Island was green winged teal. And then after that, a really good number, northern pintail was number 2, which is really cool to see. and then the Shoveler and the Gadwall tied at third at Murphy Island. Again, it just seems like all across the East Coast this year, an increase in pintails in New Jersey. We actually saw pintails there as well. Just seems like that from a management perspective, we're seeing a little increase in pintails, and that's a good thing, especially when we limit ourselves to one. Sometimes we wonder why we limit birds to one bird per man, and you may have been used to having two, and then you see the numbers that we see this year. It's like, I'm glad to be able to get a shot at one. It's nice. So pintail number's good. Again, that's third on the list. Green wing teal being top at Murphy Island, and right behind Murphy Island, our number 2 area at 4.7 ducks per man. 28 were harvested there. 6 people hunting shot 83 times. That was interesting. That was Santee Delta East. And I don't think Santee Delta East has been in the report that much. We haven't talked about Santee Delta, but East got hunted. And the number 1 duck there again was green wing teal, followed by blue wing teal, and then the mallard of all things in third place, which is interesting. Not but 3 birds taken, but with 6 hunters, that's pretty good to be able to shoot a mallard on one of our areas on the coast. So that was our second place. And our third place area rounded out at 4.5 ducks per man was Cedar Island. So did real well there. Top duck was green wing teal, followed by blue wing teal. For third between Gadwall, Shoveler, and Pintail. So, well, and I'm choking up. So, hey, it got me all excited. I got choked up on it.
All right, you clear your throat. I'll jump in, visiting with Major Downer as we go over the waterfowl. So now, how much
ice trunks and just managing those systems that have been there for literally hundreds of years. So it's a really good job that our folks do, and I can't praise them enough. But thanks for that question. Yes, Delta East is back up. Limited hunt this year some, so it was on the draw a little bit. And we've really seen a really good rise on the Coastal Reserve. For years, for like 10 years ago, it looked like Bear Island really came back up. And it's doing very well this year as well. In fact, Bear Island's probably the number one place to go kill a mottled duck, looks like, of all of our areas this year so far. It still has the highest numbers of mottled ducks. If that's one of your trophy items, or that one duck you have not been able to take or find, the Bear Island Springfield Cut is a good unit for that. Looks like this year it's just been a day in, day out, been good for mottled ducks. But Phil, that's pretty much, I know we're getting close to the end today, but that's our show. Again, as the cold weather moves in, please be careful when you go out, prepare for it. Life jackets, float coats, and again, follow that float plan. Let people know where you're going to go and when you plan to return.
Sounds like great advice for the next couple of days. And then back to your bikinis and your .33 halftime. Virginia clamping down on Virginia Tech, 25-15 at the half. Halftime. Florida State over Miami in Miami, 45-35. In the first half, Upstate trailing Longwood, 38-26. Halftime. High Point leading PC, 37-33. At the half, East Tennessee State over Wofford, 38-36. At the half, Greensboro leading the Citadel, 38-29, and Furman beat VMI 100-60. That'll do it. Thank you, Chris Bergen, who's long gone. Thank you, Pat Daniel. Thank you, Major Downer. Thanks to all of you. Have yourselves a warm night. We'll see you tomorrow.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF. From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. House Speaker Mike Johnson faced off with President Biden at a meeting at the White House over southern border security and Ukraine aid.
Speaker Johnson described the talks as productive.
We had a productive meeting, I think, House and Senate leaders. The president was very forthright. I told the president what I have been saying for many months, and that is that we must have change at the border.
The speaker noted that he articulated the executive actions President Biden has taken to create the chaos at the southern border.
We documented 64 instances where the president took executive action or his agencies took action to create the current catastrophe that we have at the border. It is a national security and a humanitarian catastrophe.
Edwin Mora, Washington.
A pair of GOP senators have introduced a bill to prohibit so-called swatting incidents in which people make false reports of a crime in progress, forcing a large police response.
The bill from Senators Tommy Tuberville and Rick Scott would put swatting under the federal criminal hoax statute with penalties of up to 20 years in prison. Senator Scott, himself a recent victim of swatting, told reporters, quote, "This is happening around the nation, not just to elected officials, but also to hundreds of Jewish institutions. It's sickening, dangerous, and we must stop it." Bob Agnew reporting.
Authorities say a power line
last month as a result of sharp hikes in tobacco and alcohol prices. Britain's office